How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. So, interesting news coming out. Bob Nightingale of USA Today believes that the Yankees will pursue Jordan Montgomery in free agency. Wow, what a full circle that ended up being. And I'll tell you one thing, we're certainly not getting a freaking hometown discount after what we did to him already. Trading him away for an injured outfielder in Harrison Bader, obviously we know how that went. Love Harrison Bader, great dude, not a great offensive player, and ultimately injury prone. So now we ask ourselves, this is the perfect Yankee sequence, Ryan, where the Yankees trade Jordan Montgomery away. They then go out and re-sign him in free agency, and then he sucks for us. This is like the perfect Yankee narrative that is going in the direction of we're going to be really disappointed. Of course, like that could totally not happen. It just feels like a Yankee thing to happen. But Jordan Montgomery's been really good this year. St. Louis Cardinals, pretty solid performance, really good with the Texas Rangers. And if you didn't see him, the reason we traded Jordan Montgomery was because we didn't want to use him in the playoffs. And guess what he just did to our rivals, the Houston Astros? What, he went 6.1 scoreless innings. He had 6 strikeouts, gave up a couple hits, 1 walk. I mean, he was tremendous. He was elite. And the Yankees traded him away for an injured outfielder because we didn't want to use him in a big moment. So now we ask ourselves, is it worthwhile in kind of going down this avenue where maybe we go and re-sign him on an extension? Does he even want to come here? We're going to break it down and give our thoughts on that and if it's worthwhile investing in him as a long-term solution in this starting rotation. Pitched a career high, I believe, 188 innings this year. So really, really big sample size of work. Really, shoved. He shoved all season long. So, Ryan, definitely curious to hear your thoughts. I know you have a lot to say and a lot of data to give us on Montgomery and what you think the Yankees should do in that regard.
Yeah, so Jordan Montgomery, obviously having an amazing season. You would not argue, I mean, it's definitely his best year as a pro. As you mentioned, set a career high innings pitched at 188 and 2/3 innings pitched. He's pitching in the postseason, which means in total he'll have, I think he already actually crossed his plateau, but in terms of total body of work, he'll have over 200 innings under his name this season, which is super important for him. Last year, I think he finished with around 170 something innings, and he might have crossed the 180 plateau with the postseason, but I'm not sure. I don't think he got to start in the playoffs, which weird on the Cardinals sense. Like it's pretty funny. The Cardinals robbed the Yankees in that trade essentially, and then in a playoff outing they don't use him. They don't just not start him. Just a weird team. 2 teams that had just disappointing years and kind of 2 peas in the same pod in terms of just inability to develop one side of the ball. Cardinals can't find pitching. Yankees can't find hitting. It's hilarious. But looking at what Montgomery's done since leaving, you would think, okay, Jordan Montgomery probably changed something, right? The big thing in 2022 when he was with the Cardinals was, he's using his 4-seam fastball a lot more, and the Yankees were dumb for not letting him use it. Well, this year he regressed that number of fastballs used by about 7% because that 4-seam fastball isn't a good pitch. It's not a pitch that he should be relying on. In terms of stuff plus, it's his worst at a 75, and it's a show pitch, right? It's not a pitch that you use or rely upon. It's a pitch that you throw because it's a pitch you can throw up in the zone. It gives a different look. It helps him play off his curveball. And obviously his curveball is, in my opinion, and by all estimations, his best pitch. In terms of stuff plus it is, in terms of whiff rates, I believe it's his best pitch, or in terms of chases, it's his best pitch as well. In terms of quality of contact, second best pitch, location plus, best pitch. So if you're talking about the pitch that Jordan Montgomery can use in basically any situation to get big outs, it's that curveball. And it's a unique pitch because, sure, it doesn't have a lot of drop. Sure, it doesn't have a lot of glove side movement, but it's kind of like that gyro action, and it plays really well off his fastballs. And Jeff Passan actually just tweeted about this, and I think he described it really well. It looks like a fastball, and that's what makes for a really good pitch repertoire, and it's when you're able to tunnel extremely well, and that's what Montgomery does. Now, if you look at what he did with Texas, and I think his sample size with Texas shows the pitcher he can be going forward. I think Texas did a better job with him than the Cardinals did in terms of pitch usage. I kind of feel like a little bit of what happened in St. Louis was he got to face a better, a little bit of better competition, a little bit of a more home run friendly ballpark for pitchers. In Texas, he became a legit dude. 29.2% whiff rate, 32.5% chase rate. In terms of quality of contact, 347 expected weighted on base average on contact. That's plus, right? So for those who are unaware what that metric is, it's basically a quality of contact measure. It takes a hard, people hit the ball off of you, the launch angle, stuff like that. 369 is roughly the average. So when you're in that 340 range, you are well above average. And a lot of that came from an increased usage of his curveballs and his changeups, kind of a more even usage of that sinker with his off-speed pitches. Now his off-speed and curveball usage are closer to around 46%. Sinker usage dialed back a little bit from around 45% to 38%. And the four-seamers featured at around 12.4%. More of a show pitch again. And it's actually done a pretty good job of getting whiffs. It does get hit hard when he misses in zone. So, if Jordan Montgomery throws his four-seam fastball and he executes one, typically it's out of the strike zone. But the big thing is that sinker. That sinker has really become a money pitch for him this year, plus 16 run value. And the reason it's so good, Alex, is because he throws it from a really unique slot. In terms of steepness, he ranks in the 95th percentile in vertical approach angle, which means if you're thinking, right, like how the ball travels to the plate, he's getting it really steep. So that angle starts off really steep. It's hard for hitters to pick up. When you think over the top movement, typically the hitters think vertical movement up in the zone, whereas when you drop from a lower release, you're going to think lower pitches in the zone. That's just kind of how hitters' eyes are trained. So when there's a guy throwing from a super over the top, super steep release, he's a super tall guy, those all kind of play to his advantage. His sinker looks more like a bowling ball. It looks like a pitch that's tough to hit. The guy who's, probably the champion of this in the Yankees pitching staff is Clay Holmes, right? You think of that sinker. If you ask people what that sinker looks like, they'll say it looks like a bowling ball. It's hard to get on top of. And that's what's made his sinker really good. I think the inclusion of more changeups, the inclusion of more curveballs with Texas has allowed that pitch to play up a little bit more. And overall, Alex, if you're talking about durable, you're talking about reliable, if you're talking about effective, that's what Jordan Montgomery's become. That's what Jordan Montgomery is. He's one of just 16 or 17 starters with double-digit WAR since 2021. He's one of just 15 starters to make over 90 starts. He is 13th in innings pitched since 2022. This guy just pitches, and he pitches well. The Yankees need stability in their rotation, and not that he's not going to be expensive, but he's not going to break your bank. I don't feel like he stops you from going out and making other moves as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the Yankees can get him at a reasonable cost, I would consider Reunion. But again, as I said, I don't think he's going to take a hometown discount. I think he's going for top dollar. And does that compromise your ability to go out and get, somebody like a Yamamoto or invest in the app, whatever it might be? I don't know how much Montgomery is going to get. But look, he's 30 years old. He's the same age as Carlos Rodon. And they just gave him 6 years, $162 million. I think most would agree that Rodon's a better pitcher than Montgomery in terms of historical sample size. So, that's warranted. I don't know how much he gets. You know what I mean? How much do you think Jordan Montgomery gets? Maybe he gets 100 million, 110, 115 million. Do you think it's 5-6 years? I think if I was another team, I'd probably be willing to do 4 years with a club option for the 5th year, maybe at $20 to $25 million per season. What would you say about that? Maybe that's too much. Maybe it's closer to 20 million.
I think overall, so Spot Track has him at $18.4 million for 6 years, which, not saying that the Yankees should be the team giving that, but I don't think that's a bad deal. All things considered, the starting pitching market's only going to be inflated. You're only going to see guys get more and more money as the years pass on. I imagine there are plenty of guys in this market who are going to get more money. You think Yamamoto, Aaron Nola, possibly Blake Snell. And again, Alex, you just need stability, right? So I was kind of thinking about this, and I'm writing about this right now, and obviously this will be in words at some point. But if you have, let's say, Garrett Cole, Jordan Montgomery, and Clark Schmidt takes another step in 2024, that's 3 reliable guys who've come into the year with 30 or more starts on their ledger in 2023. That's not something the Yankees had in 2023 on opening day, right? Obviously, Severino hadn't made 30 starts in a season since 2018. Carlos Rodon did it once, I think, in his career. He had, and that was 2022. Nestor Cortez, I believe, maybe came short of that mark. I'm not sure he hit the 30 start mark, but he might have come close. And then obviously, Montas had his injury issues, and it was really the guy you could rely upon to give you 180 innings was Garrett Cole, right? And if you change that number from 1 to 3, and then, okay, that takes pressure off of Rodon. Rodon can, try to work his way back into it and get back to that status that he was with, how do I put it, with the Giants, right? With the Giants, he was that guy. Can he be that guy here? It puts a little less pressure on him to have to make, you have to give me 190, 200 innings because nobody else can. For Nestor Cortez, he's also coming back from a rotator cuff and shoulder stuff, and you got to kind of ease him back into things. Michael King, right? Michael King wants to get to 150 plus innings, but he hasn't done it since 2019. So overall, you don't want to rely on hope for volume, right? The Yankees ranked in the bottom half of the league in innings pitched from starters, and the bottom half of the league in ERA minus, which is ballpark and league adjusted ERA. They were 20th in that mark. So they're one of the 10 worst run preventers in baseball in their rotation. So when you're not getting run prevention and when you're not getting volume, Alex, I mean, you're not going to win baseball games. I know the offense was like the big thing that the Yankees struggled with this year, but can you walk into 2024 and get like 20th, 19th, 18th, 17th, in different various important pitch metrics and then expect to win the World Series? Absolutely not, right? Like, you're going to burn your bullpen, and that's something that we've seen at times where the Yankee bullpen's like, wow, they look burnt, they look gassed, who do we have to go to? And it feels like Montgomery would help them in that regard. And again, he has familiarity with the AL East. I know people are going to be like, why would he ever want to come back? Well, I'll give you one word right here, money, right? Like, the Yankees could give him 120 million reasons to come back to the New York Yankees. So, the big thing is, if the money is there, if the Yankees are close to the highest bidder or the highest bidder, they have a shot. And if they're interested, which, again, we are led to believe they are, this just feels like a good fit. Like, I don't know if they should be the highest bidder, but if you just said, hey, does Jordan Montgomery make sense for this team? It's a pretty easy yes. So again, Alex, and I kind of want to pass it off to you with this. I feel like the theme of this offseason, Aaron Judge has talked about it. We've talked about it. Everybody who's covered the Yankees have talked about it. They need more durability. They need guys who can go from game 1 to game 162. They are on the field and they are healthy. Jordan Montgomery feels like he'll give you an every fifth day start, and I think that's the big appeal here, obviously with the fact that he's also pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, look, durability goes a long way. There's going to be big competition for Yamamoto. Dodgers seem interested, Mets. There's a lot of teams that are going to want in on his services. So, with that being said, maybe the Yankees can try to drive that price up for Yamamoto while at the same time trying to get Jordan Montgomery, who's going to be drawing less interest because of that Yamamoto sweepstakes. So maybe we could sneak in there and maybe get him at a little bit of a cheaper price point when everyone's distracted. We'll see what happens. But this is going to be an interesting offseason. A lot of money to go around. The Yankees certainly have a lot of resources, and they have a way back from this. They just need to make the right decisions. They can't overdo it. They can't lock themselves down into bad contracts. So we'll see how that goes. Look, again, Montgomery is 30 years old, and Yamamoto is 25. So pretty sizable difference. One of them is proven at the MLB level. One of them is not proven at the MLB level. So there's a lot of concern. There's a lot of concern on both sides of it. And, at the end of the day, it really just comes down to health. It comes down to consistency, and it comes down to upside, right? Are we going to see Montgomery run this exact season that he just had back? It's one great season. He hasn't done this 4 or 5 times. This is not Garrett Cole. This is not, an elite level player. This is a guy who had one really good season in the Yankees. You're buying high, right, Ryan? Like, this is what the Yankees have done. We bought high at Carlos Rodon, and it hit us in the butt. Like, that's the problem. The Yankees tend to buy high, and then they watch the players go downhill from there. So if they feel as though, Montgomery, who they know who he is, they know he has experience, he's durable. If they feel he can keep maintaining that level, it's a worthwhile investment. But at the same time, you have to do your due diligence and figure out why he was so effective this year and if it can be sustainable, because that's ultimately the difference between winning and losing these deals. So, guys, always happy to hear your perspectives below. Do you think the Yankees should go after Jordan Montgomery once again, bring him back and pay him? Or do you think you're better off going in a different direction, like a Yamamoto, spending a bit more, or trying to find a little bit more cheaper supplementary options and, commit to some of your prospects? Always happy to hear your perspectives below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.